Hey y'all, hope everybody is doing well today. So, what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over our lesson one. So, the outline for our lesson one is going to be notes over dystopias. And then you guys are going to read the short text, the lottery, or listen to it. And then there will be discussion questions over the lottery. Okay? So, first things first is let's review what genres of literature are. If you were in class during like the first couple of weeks, we did the book shopping, and we went through the different types of genres of literature. So, genres of literature are just categories in which texts are classified. So, such as fiction, nonfiction, informational, and scientific. Okay? Wrong slide. So, genres of literature include realistic fiction, fantasy, sports fiction. One thing that came to mind was All American on Netflix. If you haven't been watching it, you might want to like get in on that. Like my husband has been like binge watching it. Historical fiction, and then also dystopias will fall under this category as a genre. So, realistic fiction. So, stories that could have actually occurred to people or animals in a believable setting. So, The Fault in Our Stars, if you haven't seen it or read it, then it's a great book. It's a nice quarantine book. It's a bit of a tearjerker, but it's actually a really good book. It could actually is something that could happen to someone in real life. So that's what realistic fiction is. So something that could happen, but it didn't actually happen. Then you have sci-fi fantasy. So it's a genre in which a plot cannot occur in the real world. Its plot usually involves witchcraft or magic taking place on an undiscovered planet of an unknown world. So think Twilight, vampires, werewolves, Star Wars, and what's the other one? Star Wars. What's the other one, y'all? I always get Star Wars and another one mixed up. I can't think of what it is. Anyway, moving on. Then we have sports fiction. So stories where a sport has an impact on the plot or main character. So I talked about All American. Creed is another good one. Is a good example of sports fiction. Then you have historical fiction. So fictionalized stories that are set in the documented past. So Lincoln, this one was based off of Lincoln, but it wasn't accurate. And then you have to the Titanic, which was a real situation that happened, but these people, all of these things, everything in it weren't real. They weren't accurate. They weren't true. So that's why we call it historical fiction. Okay, so a dystopia. So write this down. Here's a definition, or you can take a screenshot. So a dystopia is an imagined state or society in which there is great suffering or injustice, typically one that is totalitarian or post-apocalyptic. So that's a mouthful. So let's break that down a little bit. So imagine if something is imagined, comes from your imagination, it's not real, it's fiction. Okay. So great suffering or injustice. So if someone is suffering greatly or if there is injustice, that just tells you that there are people who are not being treated right, there are people who are not being treated well. And then you have totalitarian. So totalitarian means the government controls every single thing, every aspect of someone's life, what they do, the limitations where they're allowed to go. That is going to be totalitarian. Questions? Comments? Concerns? Okay, I'll give you a second to take a screenshot of that or write that down. Or you can pause the video. Yeah. Okay, so examples of dystopias are going to be The Hunger Games, which is a really well-known example. I suggest you go ahead and watch the movie. I don't think it's on Netflix. I wasn't able to see it on Netflix. Now it might be on some other platforms, but I did not see it on Netflix. And then the Divergent series, which both of these are books. So if you don't want to read it, if you don't want to watch it, I'm pretty sure you have the time to read it. Pretty sure you do. Okay, moving on. Characteristics of dystopias. So how to identify them? They're going to have some or all of these characteristics. So dystopias, they give an illusion of a perfect society and have one or more of the following aspects. So government control. So somehow the government is in control of what's happening. So I don't know if anybody has ever read or seen 1984, the book 1984 by George Orwell, but that one they call the government the big brother, and like literally watches everything, controls everything. All right, then there's going to be also another environmental destruction. That's another type of dystopia. So technological control, where technology kind of like takes over. I was thinking of the one with Will Smith, RoboCop, not RoboCop, iRobot. Yeah, so technological control. Then survival. So think Zombieland. Um, Zombieland or any zombie movie where you have to try to focus on survival, or The Hunger Games, or loss of individualism. That one goes back to 1984. Or if anybody's watching The Handmaid's Tale, then that's a really good example of a dystopia where there's a loss of individualism. Everybody has to wear the same thing. They kind of, a lot of women, they do the same thing, and it's really, they don't encourage any type of individuality. So these are all characteristics of dystopias. They may have one or more. Depends. It could have all of them. So now dystopias versus utopias. So a dystopia is an imagined state or a society in which there is great suffering or injustice, typically one that is totalitarian or post-apocalyptic. So opposite of a dystopia would be a utopia. So it's an imagined place of state, an imagined place or state of things in which everything is perfect. Forgive my typo, y'all. Okay, so utopias do not exist. Um, if everything there's no perfect society in this world that we live in today. So yeah, it doesn't exist. Sorry. People might say that heaven could be considered a utopia because everything there would be perfect, but here now on this earth there is no utopia. Sorry. So um some people try to give you the illusion, like Zootopia. So like Zootopia, I was thinking about Zootopia, and when they talked about it, like during the movie, and you saw how like beautiful it was, you were like, wow, this is like totally a utopia. But then when you get on into the movie, you realize, oh shoot, this is not a utopia. This is more like a dystopia. So when you try to figure out, there was an evilness that was lurking there that should not exist in a utopia. So keep those things in mind. Dystopia, um, think of something as you don't like it, it's bad, and think of utopia as something being great. Okay, so dystopia is bad, utopia is amazing, perfect. All right, so your assignment for today is going to, because we had it yesterday off, so your assignment is going to be to read the first 3 pages of the short story The Lottery. You're going to answer the discussion questions. Now, they are submitted in test form, but of course, it's not a test grade. I put that in the instructions. Make sure that you're actually reading the instructions. Okay. If you don't want to read it, I also have a link posted for the YouTube video, and you can listen to it if you don't want to read it. And make sure you stop it at 9 minutes and 27 seconds. So I'm going to try. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video, and I'll make another video to show you where everything is on the hub. It's been going really slowly, so I'm going to try show you where everything is on the hub, and then also to let you know how to break down the questions. Okay? All right. Talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.